are you looking to improve your job opportunities? Are you looking to be able to improve your earning potential? Well, we've got some stats that say that improving your personal branding can actually improve those particular opportunities. So, for example, according to LinkedIn here, 71% of professionals believe that a strong personal brand leads to opportunities. All right, that is one particular stat we've got, and we've got a number of these. For example, here's another one here: the odds of getting a job with a strong personal brand, landing a job with a strong personal brand, you have 40 times more likely, according to LinkedIn. More stats on this particular matter here. Employers who prefer a strong online presence when they consider hiring, by 80% of them, according to Career Builder. And then also, I think as far as doing research on potential hires, we have a number of employees that do that. Yes, okay, well, here, there's a strong personal brand leading to more opportunities, 71% believe so. And also, well, as far as doing research on personal brands, and then who individuals, or rather people, believe more, corporations or individuals, it looks like they believe individuals more. So we're happy to have a special guest with us to talk about personal branding in 2025. Samke Mhlongo, I hope I've got that correctly, executive brand strategist, author, public speaker, motivational speaker, is with us here in the studio. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Independence Day, all the way from South Africa, yes?
Yes, happy Independence Day, Nigeria. I'm joining you from Johannesburg, South Africa. And thank you so much for having me on this conversation.
Now, can you define or break down what personal branding is about?
Personal branding is nothing more than you taking a strategy to control the narrative about you. So one could say that it's personal PR. Companies indulge and engage in PR and marketing activities.
Yeah.
As individuals, we do the same for ourselves, and that is encompassed in personal branding.
Now, the process of, okay, actually, before I get into the process, the economic benefits, because there are also some studies that talk about there being economic benefits to personal branding. Can you expand on that? What are they?
Yes, 100%. So the Edelman 2025 Trust Barometer actually said that individuals believe more in the individual brands behind the company than the company itself. And individuals believe more in the industry brands. So as an example, Nike, even though they may not necessarily believe in the shoe industry and some of the practices that go on in there. And that's why you see these companies will spend so much in crafting and separating themselves and their narrative outside of the industry they play in. Another example could be a politician versus politics or government as a whole, because they understand that they want to separate the impact on their sales income opportunities outside of the impact of what's happening in terms of the sentiment of that industry or arena. So you've got increased sales, you've got increased opportunities, you've got resilience where there is perhaps negative news that comes out about you. An example that we can use is, I'm sure that Nigerians also saw this when we had the Coldplay saga where the CEO of Astronomer was there and it affected the company. So your personal conduct, we now don't have the ability to say my tweets on my own or don't reflect the organization. They do, yep. And you will be tagged and your organization will be tagged. So why not leverage on that?
In fact, our next segment, we're talking about workplace culture with our next guest. Right. Is this, and I'm glad you mentioned Nike and you've mentioned politicians. Is personal branding sector specific? And look, we were talking before the segment, right? I was thinking about using your the governor of your central bank,
right?
Yes. When you consider a position like that, does personal branding have anything to do with it, with who you pick, or for the governor of a central bank, for instance? Is that, or is it sector specific?
I think it's quite important to share with our viewers that we had a very robust discussion and even an argument of whether or not we can have this conversation on business news. Where does it fit?
Yeah.
Because one would think that it's just social media and just, tooting your own horn type of thing. And we use the example of the South African governor, and I mentioned to you that actually he was serving with two other deputies before he emerged as the preferred candidate and was appointed as governor of the Reserve Bank in 2014 by our then president, His Excellency Jacob Zuma. So what made him stand out from two other obviously equally qualified candidates if they were serving as deputies already? So it was more around who he is, the sentiment about who he is, and the sentiment around what he will do and mean for our country, our Reserve Bank, and the independence thereof. So now you're starting to see that the messaging and the narrative around what people think of him right? Not just who he's being appointed by, the president, but the markets, especially in a sensitive environment like the Reserve Bank, where you're now talking about the fiscus and the fiscal integrity of the country. You want to understand, what are people's perceptions? Will they trust him? And that's exactly what personal branding is. It's about saying, you can trust me regardless of the noise in the system.
Okay, I'm convinced. Now you've won the argument now. So for here in Nigeria, and of course also in South Africa, there's a lot of young people looking for work.
Yes.
And is that the number one benefit? Can you talk about, when you talk about the benefits of personal branding, with all these stats that we've got from LinkedIn and so on about the job opportunities, is that, what are your thoughts on that? Is that one of the main thrusts of having a personal brand?
Rotus, listen, in the world where now we've got AI coming for jobs, PwC released a statistic where basically they were only taking in about half of their usual interns because the rest of those functions were going to be done or fulfilled by AI. You want to ensure that where you're now no longer just competing on skills or expertise because, hey, ChatGPT can probably do it better than you. You now want to lean in your humaneness. What do you bring to the team? Do you bring morale? Do you bring energy? What do people think about you? And as a result of think about the organization when they think about you. Are you an asset that can open doors and that can craft people's sentiment as a personal brand? So first thing that employers now do is they Google you. That's why you're seeing those stats come through, especially from LinkedIn, which is primarily a hiring and employment platform, right? And so what you want to do is, if you are looking for a job, not only just now, but in the world of the future and in the new economy, you want to make sure that when people Google you, you are in control of the results, and those results speak to trust in who you are and who you back. Gotcha.
Okay, so based on that, for individuals who are shy, so to speak, you're a public speaker, you're well versed in being able to speak to a crowd, and what's the advice to someone who says, Samke, I'm not very outgoing, I'm shy? How would that play into to boost their own personal brand?
That's the beauty of the different channels in which one can contain their expertise. So if you are shy, you can consider writing thought leadership articles on LinkedIn. Release one a week that is topical, that is trending, and that displays your expertise at work. So don't just repost what is trending. Add your interpretation, add your expertise onto what is topical and what is trending. Another way is you can look at pre-recording long form or even short form content. So on YouTube or Instagram, social media platforms. We also had this discussion where you said, is personal branding just social media? No, social media is one of the channels in which you showcase your expertise. So you can pre-record if you are not someone that is quite comfortable being in front of a live stage or doing media. But those are some of the channels, right? Pre-record.
Okay, great. Thanks for mentioning social media. So talk to us about it, because I thought that's the be all and end all, the foundation. Right, exactly. So what is social media's role? What is it? Or how does it fit in to the personal brand journey?
Social media is a low barrier, low cost, high visibility channel that can boost your personal branding. Not everyone has the opportunity to be in the studio as you and I are now, right? But you do have the opportunity of getting eyeballs by being on social media consistently, having a strategy, and going viral for the right reasons. You don't want to go viral for, something controversial that you've said, wink, wink. I researched you. You don't want to go viral perhaps because you're just a skit maker or a dancer. And now you think that virality or those eyeballs are going to give you board opportunities as an example. So you really want to craft that. I want to bring value to any of the eyeballs that I get, and I want to have also a customer journey, meaning how do I convert you from being just someone that saw me on social media, but now you're actually subscribing for my newsletter or Substack, but now you're actually booking me for my consultation or for mentorship. So we also, in our organization, which is what I do, help people to convert those eyeballs into a customer journey and ultimately into income.
Now, going forward, do you think it's going to be important that more people, we're a digital society, everybody's online, right. And you've mentioned AI and so on and so forth. So as we move forward into this, further into the digital age, is personal branding going to become more important?
Rotus, right now, a hologram could replace you. But because you are cheeky and keep us on our screens, it's going to be highly unlikely. So you've actually crafted your personal brand knowingly or unso.
So I can keep my job, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you're safe for now, right? And now the question becomes, how do I ensure that I'm not easily replaceable?
Yeah.
That's actually another core strength of personal branding. How do I ensure that it's very difficult to say we could have called anyone else to stand where Samke Mhlongo is standing right now?
Gotcha. Okay, so what about skills? There's we've talked, there's an ongoing conversation about the need for continuous learning and to continue to update. So how does that play into this? Does that play a role here as well?
Absolutely. What we are seeing now in the world of the future is that you're not going to have experts in one field. You're going to have people that are able to be generalists across different fields, but they can connect the dots of those different fields to bring value to wherever they find themselves.
Yeah.
So you're going to find people in the world of work where they're no longer going to have one employer, but you're going to have teams that are congregated around a project and then disbanded again. So your skills will now be sold to different employers as opposed to one employer.
Okay.
And so when it comes to education and skills, we need to continuously develop ourselves, not only in the area of our traditional expertise. I'm from a personal finance background, but I'm doing strategy. How does that work? But when you connect the dots, you realize that actually she's still playing in the world of how people can generate and protect their wealth.
Fantastic. Okay, you know what? You already touched on AI. My final question to you is, do you think it's going to displace jobs going forward? Or because it's, I'm a chat GPT enthusiast, and it does help as an assistant, but what do you think that's going to look like in the future going forward?
I don't need to think. The data tells us that AI is going to disrupt jobs, and the data tells us that AI is going to take away menial jobs and menial skills. And that's why you've got a crisis of graduate intake. Because now organizations are saying, these skills that the graduates give us, we can get from different types of applications.
Fantastic. It's going to be an interesting world. Samke, executive brand strategist, author, public speaker, thank you so much for joining us. Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.